What's up, y'all? Welcome on into 10 at 3. It's 10 at 3 time in Tennessee. How are you? Hope you're well. Hope everything in your life is going well. It's been 23 hours since our last confession, as people would say this time of year. I think that I said 23 hours ago we'd be a little bit closer to getting Christmas stuff done. Has not happened. I did purchase myself a tacky sweater. No one else. I couldn't find anything else that I was looking for last night. So the chase continues for the end of the holiday season. We got a lot to talk about there. Also, cracked my foot open this morning on a Hot Wheels City display that I did not know that my kid had moved into the basement. So hobbling a little bit today. If we were walking around, you would be noticing that, but we're sitting, so you're not noticing that. Other than that, everything in life is going just fine. Got Lord of the Streams Tom Barclay with us in the back, and we have Ms. Emilie Ray Cochrane with us here today, at least for the first little bit. Emilie, how are you?
Good. How are you? I didn't step on a Hot Wheels toy, so I'm already having a better day, I guess, than you.
Normally step like on the Hot Wheel, which can be a little bit, depending on which one it is, it can be a little jagged, or but this was like on the corner of like a Hot Wheels garage that had been moved. I don't know if it's intentionally or not, but moved right into the walkway when I turned to go over to my office, and I didn't know it was there, and just wham, right on there. It's
the unexpected, almost like when you stub your toe.
Yeah.
The worst feeling.
Not fun.
Really wrecks your day.
It does.
Not fun.
It does. And I am laughing hysterically. The next time, I remembered that the next time you came in here, I was going to have to mention this. The other day, this is a little, we don't discuss office goss, but I have something fun the other day.
Goss?
Not just office stories, not office goss, because I'm still laughing about it. I'm
Goss.
still laughing about it.
What is goss?
Gossip.
Oh.
But it's not gossip. It's just a fun story for the other day.
The abbreviation for gossip.
Yes.
I like that. I'll start using that.
You had really?
Goss.
How do I know something and you don't know what it is?
Gossip.
That should
Tom,
be the
do you know what goss is?
That should be the exact opposite.
I have no clue what you're talking about right now.
Maybe
Have you ever called gossip goss?
No.
Maybe
Goss is Ryan Gosling.
Maybe that's something people used to say, and then when I was younger, and then it's so far out of fashion you don't even know what it means.
Maybe.
That's probably the most likely scenario. But the other day, regardless, I went shopping the other day, got some snacks for the office.
Yeah,
and a lot of
Thank
them.
you for those.
Oh, you're welcome. And a lot of them, they happen to be like healthy-ish snacks, and you're wondering why is that? Well, it's because my wife went shopping with me that day. That's the reason. And number two, it led to one of the funniest questions I have ever been asked, probably ever. When you looked at me dead in the face.
Wait, I asked the goss is about me?
No, here's what you said.
No.
Here's what you said. You looked at me dead in the face and went, "Oh, so you're like a health nut?" And I went,
do you know what an almond mom is?
I was like, do you have eyes? Do you have eyes? Do you know what you're looking at? Yes, me, health nut. I treat this body like a temple here.
Do you have any idea what an almond mom is?
No.
You don't know what an almond mom is?
No, what is it?
It's a mom who's kind of like a health nut, but they call them almond moms.
Yes.
So like my mom is not an almond mom. She let us have fruit snacks, chips, soda growing up. Almond moms like restrict their kids to just granola bars and the stuff without the horrible, which probably isn't a bad idea, but yeah, that's what an almond mom is.
Yeah, my wife eats like a rabbit and I don't, which is probably why I look the way I look and she looks the way she looks. That probably explains it. But I don't believe in just restricting everything all the time, because if you do that, you know what's going to happen? They're going to go on benders when they're away from you. So you got to just try to introduce healthy habits and get used to that, as opposed to like denying everything. You can't just Matumbo everything.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You can't do that. I mean, come on. Plus, you have a really beautiful kid and he looks at you like, "Can I have some ice cream?" Of course you can, buddy.
Yeah.
Look at you, you handsome little man.
Yeah.
You want some ice cream? Yeah, but he does not drink soda. So I think that makes us good parents.
That's tough, because once you're hooked up, once you know what soda tastes like, it's so difficult
You won't even
to
drink
break
juice,
a habit.
just milk and water. That's all the kid will drink.
Does he not like juice?
Says it's too sweet.
Wow.
I don't know.
That's an angel right there.
That is weird. It's weird, but I'm like, are your taste buds normal? I don't, regardless, because I've always had a bit of a sweet tooth myself. But nonetheless, we got a lot to talk about here on the program today. Josh Heupel did speak with the media, which he loves to do. It's his favorite thing.
His favorite thing.
That's why, in fact, he loves it so much that he does less and less of it every year just because he doesn't want to fall into the temptation of falling on that crutch of doing something he loves so much.
Well, we were just talking about it, too. It feels like centuries ago that Tim Banks was fired. Feels like centuries ago that Jim Knowles was hired.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, did we talk to Heupel in between these events happening? And nope, this was the first time that we heard from head coach Josh Heupel since everything kind of unfolded after that loss against Vanderbilt.
Oh, no, and I think many people were very happy when the Vols brought Mike Heath home. And I think Josh Heupel may have been as happy as anybody because he's like, wait, he'll do a lot of this stuff now? I don't have to do it? Oh, it's great. Wait, I have to talk to media like, what, twice a week in person for 10 minutes, once on a teleconference for 4 minutes, and that's it? Dude, sign me up for that. That's like, what, a half hour a week tops of dealing with us? That's like, Philip Fulmer used to do that per day. That's how much this thing has changed over the years. But regardless, yes, Josh Heupel did make an appearance today, speaking with reporters after practice. Some interesting things came up, and we're going to talk a little bit more. We got some NFL Vol news. We got some Tennessee baseball news. We'll get to that later in the program. But while Emilie's here, she was at the Josh Heupel presentation display this afternoon. How did it go?
It was good. We were going to get players, and then we ended up not getting them. So we had Josh Heupel just solo today. Nice for deadline for us on TV. Which
there
is
you
nice. Go. It was good. He got some clarity on, the Jake Merklinger situation. Was asked about, what that quarterback room is going to look like when it comes to the bowl game. Obviously, he clarified that George McIntyre is going to be the number 2. Joey Aguilar has not opted out, so he's going to start, seems like. But then he was also asked about the future of that room as well, whether he's going to fish in the portal a little bit, if it's okay with guys like Faison Brandon coming in and kind of, I think Adam Sparks also asked, does a team need 3 quarterbacks essentially?
Yeah, because Josh tried to sidestep. It was actually a pretty good attempt at a joke to not have to answer the question. The Phillip Rivers thing was good.
That was good. He said, if Phillip Rivers were to come knocking on our door, a guy like that, that could be a potential thing, but that was funny. But yeah, I mean, gave some nice clarification there. But it is probably one of the most talked about, things in Tennessee football right now with the quarterback situation and everything going on with Joey. He didn't give any specific details about how that is going, but there are going to be a ton of questions heading into next year.
Well, and in fairness to Heupel, again, and we'll crack because it's what we do here. Hey, it's what we do here. We got the Philly girl in here too. Hey, we're going to crack a little bit. But
do we say that in Philadelphia?
I don't know. That sounds a little more New Yorkish, but whatever. You got Italians up there too. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's both northeast of here. But yeah, go Birds. But it's a difficult situation for Heupel. And again, like I get why. Like normally, Josh Heupel will try to sidestep everything just because he doesn't ever want to say anything, and it's fine. That's his personality. We joke about it. He'll even joke about it when he's off the record. It's just kind of how he is and how he likes to go about his business. But with this quarterback situation in particular, it's a sticky situation. It just is because it is so hard in every way to manage your roster these days. But at the quarterback position in particular, and if you're wondering why can Heupel not give specifics on this, well, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you all the reasons why, or most of them anyway. One, you don't know what's going on with Joey Aguilar because is he going to keep pursuing that case? Is that just something that's just a fallback emergency, like a safety option for him in case he really doesn't hear what he likes from NFL people? And then he says, okay, well, I can cash out one more year in college, so if I get this, then I want to go. And so if that's the case, well, you got to wait to see if he's going to win that case, and you got to wait to see what the options are then. And so that right there is complicated because you're not, until there's resolution on that issue, you're not going to get a fourth quarterback on scholarship. You're just not going to do it. It's no one who would actually be good enough to play in a game would want any part of that situation where they're going to walk in like, okay, sure. So you've got 2 5-star freshmen. You've got a 25-year-old young man who started for you last year and played well. And all those guys are in your program and you want me to go there?
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. So, but then what happens if you look for somebody and then if Aguilar gets it, does he go? Maybe. What's the financial situation there? You know, do Faison Brandon and George McIntyre start to get cold feet a little bit after spring practice and they go, maybe I want to go somewhere now. Like you are sitting in a situation that is volatile all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So in that particular instance, he's managing so many things. I don't know what people expect him to say there.
Yeah, that's fair. And it's funny because every year is a different circumstance. Like last year, obviously, fans were expecting to see Nico have a few more years at Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
And they were expecting to have that kind of position fulfilled and that position kind of set in stone. You know, you got a 5-star backup in George McIntyre. And then again, they were on that stretch of just recruiting quarterbacks who were kind of down the line. Faison Brandon, I remember it was like he was a 2026 recruit. And it was just kind of the line of quarterbacks that you kind of saw Tennessee being able to bring into their program. And it's like, okay, when Nico's done, we'll have George. When George is done, we'll have Faison. But I don't know. It's just interesting now because you have Joey, and he was a difference maker for this team this year.
Mm-hmm.
But one singular year people were expecting out of him. But then do you think people were kind of like, okay, we've got these two for the next upcoming seasons as well? Like, I don't know if there's a need to even fish in the portal, because at the end of the day, when Joey first came to Tennessee, that was always the expectation that he had those backups as well. So I don't know where I'm really getting at this, but do you know what I'm saying?
I do. I know exactly what you're saying. And I feel the reason I say yes is because I've seen multiple Tennessee seasons where I've covered them where they've gotten down to like their third or fourth quarterback during the year. And these guys are getting bigger and faster and stronger every year, which means that these quarterbacks are running faster and they're also getting hit harder. So they're putting more pressure on their joints when they're running around because they're bigger, faster, stronger. The defenders coming at them are bigger, faster, stronger. And, you know, in college, you can't really rough the passer, but you can certainly do more than you can at the NFL level. And college quarterbacks tend to run a little bit more. There's more broken plays, things of that nature. And college quarterbacks aren't always as smart about sliding, getting down. I mean, you see the difference in Jackson Dart this year, how he's been in concussion protocol like more than half the games he's played because he just won't slide. And it's like, you can't do you are a quarterback. Yes, it maybe looks cool if you're the quarterback who drops his shoulder and tries to run through people, but you have a responsibility to your team to stay healthy and to stay on the field. There's only, at the end of the day, you got more options to plug in guys at every other position. You can move guys around. You can change the formation. You can have a guy play slightly out of position. Like in an emergency, you could put like a safety at corner or a corner at safety. Move guys around at nickel, linebacker, guys can play inside out. You can move a defensive lineman inside. Guards can play tackle. Tackles can play guard or center. All of these guys are interchangeable. Quarterbacks are not.
Yeah. And
they are so central to every single thing that you do as a football program that honestly, if I went into a season, if I'm Josh Heupel and I go into a season with 2 scholarship quarterbacks on my roster, I'd feel a little naked. Like I just would. I'd feel like I don't have enough jackets for what's going to happen this winter. Like I'm going to get hit, and then you're starting a walk-on against Alabama or something. That's why it's so hard to manage all this.
Well, and I'm sure Josh Heupel and company have PTSD from last spring. Like I said, they were set. I mean, Nico was expected to play for multiple seasons, and then you have 2 incoming backup 5-star quarterbacks. So
feel pretty good.
Feeling pretty good, but at the same time, you would have never expected something like that to happen with Nico leaving. So
no,
it was
they played chicken with each other and just not good.
It was the shock of the season, still a story we're clearly talking about at this point at the end of the season. So I think there's probably some lingering PTSD with, you can be as comfortable as possible at that position, but at the end of the day, we had a situation that happened that, not many programs have to go through. So yeah, I just think, there's never a bad part in trying to regrow and create more depth within that room.
Yeah, and it's just, and again, just so we can be clear about what Heupel did say, he did say that they don't have a firm timeline on when they expect news from Joey or what they expect that news to be. That's one. He said very nice things about Jake Merklinger, as we said yesterday that he would, because he's been a good teammate, been a good guy in the program, worked hard, tried to win the job, just couldn't win it. And he's only got a couple years left and he wants to play, which is his right to go do. You work this hard at it. I mean, people say, why don't you just stay and try to win a championship with your team and all this other stuff and keep trying to fight for your position? Okay, that's fair in some ways. But I think what's more fair is you've played you say your entire life. When you're 18 or 20, it still feels like it's your entire life because it's all you know. But some people who are 40 or 50 say, if I could go back and be that age and decisions I would make. That's not fair because what this young man has now, you work to that point your entire life to play football. You want to play at the highest level. You want to win as much as you can in college, play at the biggest places you can, and you want to try to be a pro and play in the NFL. You want to do all these things. This has been your goal, your dream. But ultimately, you get 4 or 5 years of a window to play. And if you go into a season, if your entire career, you will never go into a season knowing that you're going to be the guy unless other guys get hurt, what would you expect your own kid to do in that situation? Try to stop for a second and act like even if you're a Tennessee fan, think about your kid and their future and what they want to do and living out their dreams. And I get up at, 5:30 a.m. all year long, basically. I go work out twice a day. I don't eat fried foods. I do, I haven't had a soda in like 3 years. These guys, I'm probably painting an extreme portrait, but you're in the ballpark of what they're doing. And yes, they're young and they have energy and it's a wonderful thing. And God, I wish I could go back and be that young and energetic again. But they're in that moment now and they're fighting for their future and they want to play football. They love their teammates. They love practicing. They love getting all the gear. They love, being on the sideline at Neyland Stadium. These are awesome things. But they want to play football. And I don't know. I just don't understand why anybody would criticize someone who wants to go play football. Yeah.
And it's super interesting, too, because Heupel was actually asked about the landscape of college football today as well. And I, someone asked, there's harsh words being thrown out about the landscape, just calling it dirt and, not what it used to be. And he's agreed and said it's sad and that, it's still the best sport in the country or in the world, I guess you could say. But yeah, it's certainly interesting to see the way, depending on how much you play, how good you are at what you do, kind of determines whether or not you're going to get a lot of backlash from the fan base. Because, we're Jake Merklinger, go be great. You do you. Nico Yamaleafa. You Lane Kiffin Dust, so I don't blame them at all. I don't blame people being upset and, because also times have changed and people do, longtime college football fans remember what it used to be with people having to stick with the same program for 4 years. And we can just go on and on about the landscape of college football, but at the end of the day, it's the way it is now, and you can't really change it. So,
Well, I mean, what I like about Heupel, one of the things I like about Heupel certainly is that he tends to keeps it real with that stuff, but he does whatever he can to kind of put it in the best light possible, because I think he understands, as imperfect as this is still everything I've ever wanted to do in life, and so I'm not gonna sit here and just complain about everything all the time. I'll have my constructive criticism behind the scenes. I'll speak up in conference meetings and NCAA meetings, and I'll say, I don't know what we're doing with this rule or that rule, but I'm not going to play this out like it's a courtroom drama every time I go in front of a camera. I love what I do. I'm coaching football. These are the rules. We try to play by them, and we go. And so I like that about him. But some of the criticism that some of these guys get, the players, some of it's very fair. I mean, hey, you're not a fully formed adult yet, but you're a young adult. You're making good money. A lot of them are now. Hey, you're a public figure. You're not held to the same standards as like a 30-year-old, 10-year pro, but there are standards here. But the other day, just as, for example, Tennessee was playing a basketball game, and I heard someone in the media sort of making light or saying that this guy didn't go to Tennessee. He went to the place Tennessee was playing because he got like $200,000 more dollars. And like, do you want to go play for a team that's not as good, but for $200,000 more? And I won't say which player it was, or which reporter it was, but I looked at that. It's a friend of mine, and I said, man, what would you do if somebody offered you $200,000 today? What would you do with it? Would you just completely disregard that? Would you say, nah, it's just $200,000? Hey, that's college for a kid.
life-changing money.
That's
Yeah.
college for a kid. That's a down payment on a decent house, like a good house. Like that's. Do you hear yourself right now? Like does this mean nothing to you?
Mm.
Like that's, and hey, you could talk about maybe making hedging bets or saying, hey, I'll take a little bit less now for the long-term future, which is valid. But there's also a risk if you do that you try to play that way, and then you rip your leg open tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
or you do something much worse than stepping on a Hot Wheels City garage and you do something really bad, or this happens all the time, you're just not as good as anybody thinks you are.
Yeah.
And so then you've taken this $200,000 and thrown it down the drain, and now you're going to go work like everybody else because your ball playing days are done. I just, the way that people talk about these guys sometimes, it's like, what if someone offered you this today? What would you do?
That's fair. I also see the other side of it as well. I keep bringing up Nico, but it's the case I remember the most because it was such a big story earlier this season. But I don't remember how much he was getting paid at Tennessee, but I remember he was wanting like $4 million or something.
He had been making around $2 per year.
And he wanted a lot more.
And he tried to play it and wait to the last minute and play chicken, where Tennessee, where his people felt like they were putting Tennessee in a situation, backing them in the corner where they were going to force them to do it. Like Boo Carter, some of that stuff too.
For sure. And, I don't remember the exact numbers, but on the other side of what you were saying, I mean, if I'm already making that much money as a 19, 20-year-old.
Sure.
There are some instances where I'm like, okay, you're a college athlete. You are on scholarship. You're getting paid this much money. Why do we need to take it a step further? What are you going to do with that much money, if that makes sense?
It does. And my only counterpoint to that before we talk about Jim Knowles and let you get out of here is for me personally, it depends. I'm not going to bottom line, I'm not going to judge because it's not my money. It's not my life. It's their decision to make. And I'll say what I think, but I don't know their situation most of the time personally. Some of these guys I know better than others, but generally speaking, there may be things we don't know. There could be factors. But in general, the better professional prospect you are, the less I think you should care about what you're getting today, generally speaking. Because let's say, for instance, you are, I don't know, you're someone like, let's just look at Nico and let's just look at Nico and let's look at Aguilar. Nico
Yeah.
has been consistently seen, right or wrong, until this year maybe, consistently seen as someone who would eventually go in the first round of the draft.
Mm-hmm.
So for him, maybe the mindset is more, okay, I want to get what I can now, make sure I'm getting a fair market value, but I'm going to be a first-round draft pick, and there's much more money to be made there. Plus, I'm a quarterback, so if I'm this big, famous guy, like I'll make more money NIL-wise than my base salary. I'll do other deals, I'll get other things, yada, yada. If I'm Joey Aguilar, and I know that no matter what I do because of my age and maybe some size stuff here or there, maybe I'm not going to be an NFL draft pick, or maybe I'd go late in the draft. For me, in that situation, but I know I'm a good college player who can win at a high level in college, but I don't know what my pro future is, I want every penny I can make now because this is the prime money-making time of my career. Now, again, you talk about a legacy, and in terms of long-term stuff, if you're a starter for 3 or 4 years, maybe you have a better chance of like being the radio analyst one day, or sticking around being an associate AD for shaking people's hands or whatever they call that job. Maybe, a life coach or whatever. Just hey, here's a thank you for everything you've done. We'll name it straight after you. You won't have to pay for a meal or a drink ever. That stuff, nice. But your prime playing career money comes now. So if I'm Joey Aguilar and someone offers me $200,000 more, that means a lot more to me than it would be to somebody else.
For sure. And last point before I dip, I guess you can look at it from multiple different perspectives. If I'm a fan and I'm looking from the outside in, I'm going to appreciate someone who isn't, just out for the money, isn't, and I understand that these are all factors, but for Joey, you can tell that he's appreciative of this opportunity. You can tell that his family loves that he made the decision to come here and play for this university. So I think when you kind of balance all those things, and it also depends on the kind of person you are. I mean, nothing against Nico, but he wasn't nearly as outgoing or, personable with the media as Joey is. So I think depending on your stance when it comes to like you as a person, you as a player, you as an all-around human being, depending on what you do and the choices you make in regard to money and other factors within, the realm of college football, it kind of reflects on what other people are going to think about those decisions that you make.
I think that's fair.
Makes sense.
I think that's fair. I know you got to run. Get out of here.
Bye.
Get out of here. Go do your stuff.
Later. Thank you
so much to Emilie for joining us, at least for the first half of the show today, give or take. And I think, I'm glad she played devil's advocate on some of that stuff, because I think those are all valid points. I just think everyone's situation is different, and I'm not saying we can't criticize. We absolutely can criticize. These are, whether they think they are or not, or whether we think they are or not, or think that it's a fact that the law would consider them public figures. So that everyone's ethics are their own thing, Tom, but like legally speaking, these are public figures who are living life by and large out in the open. Like, we don't get their home address, their social security number, their bank statements, all this stuff, but you live a life in public, you are more open to fair play criticism, and that's okay. It should be respectful. I think it should be, it should be fair. It should be multifaceted. It should be nuanced when possible. But it doesn't mean you can't criticize. You can criticize if you want, and I will. I have. I just don't. I don't blame the players really for the situation that everyone's kind of in right now. There was a way from the beginning to do this better and smarter, and the NCAA was obstinate and defiant. So here we are. And does that mean we have to accept it? No. Does that mean we have to just do away in our minds any notion of any scenario where we can unwind some of this? No, that's not what that means. You don't have to just throw your hands up and say, well, NIL, take the wheel. Here, off we go. You don't have to do that. We should have talks about this. The problem is, by and large, Tom, you have spent much more time covering pure news than I have.
Fair.
But I can tell you, not always speaking, and not as much as usual maybe, but typically speaking, courts really like precedent. Courts tend to like precedent. Not always. We're seeing things nowadays that are maybe a little different. Whether it's right or wrong, different. But courts tend to like precedent. And I've not seen a tremendous amount of judges, be they left, right, or center, who are lining up to give the NCAA some wins in court here. I don't see it. The floodgates kind of open that way. The precedent kind of is what it is now. And can we unwind some of these things? Sure. But it might take like an executive order. It might take, I don't know how else you can do it, because if this thing goes, every time they go to court, it's people of a certain age will have no idea what this is, but it's Super Dave Osborne. Like, every single time they go to court, and YouTube them if you haven't, it'll rest in peace. Great comic actor.
Kind of a legend.
A legend.
Unsung
in so
legend, if you want to call it
many
that. Yeah.
ways. And I'm glad that he got his kind of curtain call down the stretch there on Curb, because he's so good. He is so good. He is so funny. But it's basically Super Dave Osborne. It's a comedy sketch, long running, where it's a stunt guy who always talks a big game about the big stunt he's going to do, and then it goes horribly wrong and everything explodes and he runs into walls and jumps off of cliffs and gets hurt. And, that's kind of what the NCAA is with court now. So I can see some scenarios where some of this gets unwound, but I think we are kind of where we are with a lot of this stuff, unless there's some sort of executive order, presidential task force, some particularly aggressive governors. I don't know legally what their recourse here is, because it's kind of like, well, you could have signed some collective bargaining on the front end, and I still think collective bargaining is the only way any of this gets settled at all, is some sort of collective bargaining agreement that's subject to change every few years, but you can't play unless you really kind of sign into that. Well, I guess technically you don't have to be in the Players Association, but it's kind of dumb if you're not. So I just don't see where this stuff gets unwound. So it's like you can basically sit here and you can tilt at windmills, you can Don Quixote your way through all of this, or you can kind of do what Josh Heupel does, and you can say, hey, these are the rules. Do I love them? No. Do I think some of them are a little dumb? Yes. Is it sad what some of this is doing? Yes. But these are the rules. So do you want to do this? Do you, as a coach, do you, as a fan, want to stay involved in this? Or as a coach, do you want to do what Nick Saban and others have done and say, I want no part of this. I'm not doing this. I am not spending a significant portion of my year every year convincing guys to re-sign with me I'm not doing this every year. Like, I'll go recruit like I've always done to get guys to come here. Sure. But you're telling me that now we got to sit here and argue over money on some of this stuff? That's NFL. I left that world. I don't want to do that again. And also, if you're someone like Nick Saban, you're kind of an authoritarian. You're kind of a strong man. You don't want to share the power. You don't want, you don't want. That's why one of the reasons why he didn't like the NFL. He couldn't make all his own decisions. Players in some cases had more power than coaches, and he wasn't all about that action. But I just think it's we know right now what the world is. Look at the most expensive rosters in college football this season. Look at that top 10 list. Look at the college football playoff this year. It's not a circle, but it's a Venn diagram with a really wide center. So you can say, okay, what are my expectations? Do I want to stay in here and fight? And if I do, well, then you know what? You know what goes away with all, the more money you have, you know what you have the less of? Grace. So the more money that goes into this, the more pressure there is, the more every year the results matter more. I mean, I don't think it's going to turn like the NHL where every team seems to go through like 3 coaches a year. Like, where it's like guys getting fired every 2 seconds, or the Premier League in soccer or whatever. Like like the 8,500 people who've managed Chelsea this decade. Like it's not going to be that, but it's a lot of money and it's a lot of pressure and it's a lot of work every year to put a team together to go out there and play. And you think, wait a minute, this sounds a lot like the NFL. Yeah, sounds a lot like pro sports because it kind of is. But we're all at fault for letting it get here, and now it's here. People for years did not listen to warnings. Hey, this is where this is going to go. Hey, this is where this is going to go. At some point, courts are going to start to turn the screws on this because you've opened up the books. They can see how much money is available here. They can see what players are getting. They can see the monetary value. It feels a bit indentured servitude, a little bit. Just kind of feels that way. Go back and look up what that means, kind of what that is. So these guys have to have rights. Like if the coaches can leave every year, why can't the players? If the coaches can go wherever they want every year, why does labor not have those same rights?
Yeah, I think I said it a stream or two back, or that it feels like where this heads is, the end, like the very end of that is, players on contracts that set those kind of terms into stone at the cost of having that flexibility to be able to enter the transfer portal. It just not, when they feel.
Yeah, and you can't even do something like, like 2-year deals, because then you're not. Yeah. Because then if you're doing that, you're not. Does that mean that coaches for 2 years can't go anywhere?
Exactly.
Does that so again, you have to think about it in those terms. Now, what's hard is the tampering portion of it is the part where I think at some point there's going to have to be a tampering investigation somewhere, or a pretty heavy, I don't even know if a fine would do it. You're going to have to dock scholarships or something. You're going to have to, I don't know if you're going to do bowl bans and all that.
That's the thing. That's
bowl bans
that's
are
where
tough.
It's going to get tricky, is when we're talking about the academic side of the house, less the the athletic funding, right?
Yes.
And I mean, ultimately, this is what a lot of these court battles are trying to hammer out, is like what where is the line drawn, right? Yes. And you see the wheels turning at a lot of universities. They're setting up these specific like donor pools. I'm not sure what to call it, the funding, like the funds, right? The Tennessee
collectives and all that.
Yeah, the collectives and all that. And it feels like it's eventually just the way it's going to move is there's going to set that line for players. It's going to be probably something fairly similar to how they retain and keep coaches, just without necessarily all those same barriers, right? It'll be a little bit different.
I laugh every time when I hear that word collective.
Yeah,
because it's just not a word you hear associated with like capitalism very often. It's kind of,
the collective.
The capitalists
love
collectives.
We're talking about collective bargaining
historically,
here.
Historically speaking, capitalists love collectives. But no, it's excuse me. I think it's the tampering stuff. that is where at some point the NCAA is going to have to say, what kind of battle can we pick that we can actually win?
Yeah.
And I think tampering is one where they could maybe still have some muscle power there. And that's a situation where you're going to have to go find a school. You're going to have to find a paper trail or your digital stuff, whatever, an investigation, wiretaps, whatever you got to do. You have to make penalties for tampering. They got to be significant. And you're going to have somebody, you're going to have a fall guy. It sucks, but you're going to have to, that can at least take, if you can at least tamp down on the tampering, where it's not a deal where a coach knows that after every year, all of his guys can go call whoever they want for the most part. But people cold calling them and their representatives, that might be an area where there's one time a year you can do that, or 2 times a year you can do that. And it's not saying you can't move. It's saying that you can't cold call some of these kids and do some of this stuff. And you can't, that's, excuse me, that is an area where maybe they can take at least one part of this and have it be where at least all of these guys aren't hearing year round where they maybe should transfer to. You know, maybe that is something that, could be looked into. That was a point that, Sly Drinkwitz made the other day that, I mean, sometimes, don't get me wrong, I roll my eyes quite a bit when some of the stuff Drinkwitz says and does, but he wasn't wrong about that, I don't think. That's one area where I think maybe you could at least exert some control back on this and say, okay, I can't prevent you from calling other people. I can't prevent you from going to the highest bidder every year. I can't make you be anywhere longer than a year. I can't do any of these things. What I can do is make sure that nobody's tampering with you while you're there, unless there's a window where they can do it. That maybe takes at least one part of this. It's like, when my entire house is like a wreck or a mess, or I'm frustrated with something, sometimes I'll just go like one room. I'm going to clean that one room. I'm going to straighten up this one thing. And just that one thing will make me feel a lot better. Just one thing. So just go do one thing. It's like I can't keep the world off my shoulders, but I can take one of these continents and kind of chuck it to the side. So it still sucks. It's still too much to carry, but it's not everything. Let's take one thing off of this. So maybe that's one thing they could do. I don't know. We'd have to have more lawyers on here to do that. That's a good idea. We should do that. People love lawyers. We got to bring some more lawyers in here and talk. You know what?
People love, they yearn for the lawyers.
Let's drag some of them from the bottom of the ocean and come out here and have a conversation, right?
Yeah.
But I think some of this stuff, it's like, it's easy. I just don't want to be a program in a show, and I'm not going to speak for anybody other than myself, but I get the idea here that as a station, I don't think we ever want to be people who just tell you what problems there are. Like, I don't want to just sit here and say, all of this is bad. Reporting every day, 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern, maybe later, maybe earlier, but whatever. During those times for sure. Here's everything. Everything stinks, guys. Back to you. Go on about your day. No, like, let's try to talk about what could be done. Because we can all sit here and say, yeah, that's not fun. We don't like that. It's a little harder to say, how do we fix it? And maybe we're wrong, but hey, here's an idea. Here's what you, the viewer, the listener, here's what you can do if you want to make change. Here's what you can do. Call this person, call that person, write this person. Make this decision, make that decision. Here's what you can do if you want to have a say on this. And I think that I hope that this whole thing with college sports right now doesn't become a thing where all we do is complain about it.
I mean, eventually,
and we don't say what can be done.
No, to be honest, I think a lot of this is just because the changes are still happening. We're watching this meat get made in real time, right? And I think
which is not always the best way to enjoy your meal.
No, it's not. But I mean, at the it's all feels like this is heading toward a conclusion of some sort, right? And I think that's ultimately how the landscape reforms itself. But we're watching that landscape reform itself in the moment.
And we're watching things like, TJ Finley try to maybe go to his 7th college during his college football playing career, which is insane to think about. But
remember, the legal system, notoriously fast workers, right?
Oh, yes.
It definitely doesn't take decades
very,
to hammer out
very,
a lot of
very,
stuff.
very quick.
No,
very quick.
I think I feel like in the next 5 years, we'll at least have probably a better idea of how this all truly will look in the future for at least a few decades.
And it's not too different from like the thing I was talking about with cleaning one room. It's kind of like while coaches will put at least one guy out there at all times that they know exactly what they're going to get.
Yeah.
Because that gives you a place to stand while trying to pull all the other, you can maybe try to pull things out of quicksand if you have one place you can stand. If you have one place you can stand, you can pull somebody out, right? If the whole thing's quicksand, guess what? You're all going down. And that's kind of, you look for that one thing. And so, and sometimes I imagine like as a college football coach or college basketball coach, you feel like the one person who's trying to stand. And even then, you lose a couple games. Guess what's happening there? You're in the quicksand too. And so it's difficult. But there were other things Heupel talked about today. We got a few minutes to wrap up some of this stuff. At least 10 of them, right? 10 shiny minutes. He did talk about Jim Knowles and why you bring this guy in, and obviously he's not going to be the coordinator for the bowl game. He's not been a coach on this team this season. They're going to go ahead and let William Inge, the linebackers coach, be the defensive coordinator for this game, and that makes sense. People are like, why don't you just go ahead and get in there now? Well, no, because he's not coaching. He's not been coaching these guys all year. He's not been. He would have to come in and learn somebody else's system for a month and teach it to these guys and then take over in January and say, hey, all this stuff I was just teaching you guys, don't worry about that. We're going to do different stuff now. That's why you don't do this. That's why in a situation like this, that's why, Lane Kiffin's just sitting there at LSU watching the team for the most part. That's why Jim Knowles, defensive coordinator now at Tennessee, he's there every day. He's wearing orange. He's watching practices. He's seeing things. He's talking to people. He's in meetings. But after this game is played, and he might help with some of the install stuff too. He might talk about, hey, maybe think about this or that, or hey, I saw these guys do this. Maybe think about that. Obviously he's coming from years in the Big Ten, so he knows Illinois. He knows what they want to do. I'm sure that's going to be helpful in some ways. It can't hurt. But he's not going to come in and teach these guys a new defense just for this bowl game. No, they've already said Inge is going to coach. He knows the system now. They're going to run that system. They're going to finish the season, which they should do. They owe it to everybody to do that. And then January, you start the next phase. And so that makes sense to me. But he obviously talked about why Jim Knowles is a guy you would want to bring in, his experience, the results, all of these things. I mean, boilerplate stuff, but again, this is Josh Heupel. What you're going to get is boilerplate stuff. This was a hire that you make, and it's not a cheap one, and it's one that you're proud of making, and it's one that you can display proudly in front of the world, which they've done. And so we'll see how everything gets there. We've talked about the roster for the bowl game a little bit, and Heupel was asked today, is this what the roster is going to be? The 8 guys or whatever who've opted out now or probably aren't going to play, is that all? And he said, no, there's a couple other guys still deciding, and we know who some of those guys are, but, could be upwards of a dozen or more. Like it's just right now, I think there's 8 or 9. That's what the number is. That's about normal. That's guys who have already gone into the portal, and they're not going to wait till after the game. They don't want to get hurt. Mm-hmm. They're draft prospects, yada, yada. Aaron Carter not going to play. Don't blame him. All these things are normal, but just for the record, not sure. And the next time we speak with Josh Heupel, we'll ask again, and we'll see how much has changed since then. And we'll see what, we can talk about or can't talk about. But Merklinger, technically, I guess Heupel was the first person who could go on the record talking about it because he can't officially go in the portal yet, but he's told Heupel he's going to. So that's how that stuff gets relayed. He talked about George McIntyre's growth and how proud he is of him, how much work he's done physically, mentally, all those things. Now he's still a skinny guy. He's going to be 6'6", and he's young, so he's going to be skinny. But he's filled into that a little bit. He's been here for a year, learned the system. Now he's one play away, right? So now he's definitely one play away. Roster management, we obviously talked about that. I think we've given a pretty good synopsis. I hope that I didn't forget anything there. I might have, but if I did, we'll have Friday to go in there and mention it then. A couple other tidbits of news. Congratulations. I think congratulations are in order here. I think. The reason I say I think that is it's good news, generally speaking, when you sign a contract with an NFL team. But it's the New York Jets. So you go, congrats. It's a nice city to live in for a young guy with money, I guess. But yeah, Hendon Hooker, who had been released by the Panthers in November, which he's probably like, hey, it sucks to get released, but getting out of the Carolina Panthers organization ain't the worst thing in the world. But then he's like, all right, I got all these options. Where can I go now? And then it's like, how about the New York Jets?
Well,
and you go, oh, for that owner, oh.
Hey.
Oh.
None of us have crystal balls. No one knows what the future holds.
We've got a pretty good idea what it holds for the New York Jets. Now, I will say this. The Chicago Bears having a heck of a year.
Yeah.
Things might be turning around. They don't know where they're going to play. They're still trying to say, well, we'd like to play in the county, but we kind of want to pay for it, but maybe the city's going to have to pay for other stuff. And they're like, no, we don't. So are they even going to play in Cook County? Not sure. Are they now they're looking at also places in Indiana maybe to play? So be like the the Washington football team Commanders playing basically in the Atlantic Ocean almost, or out in the swamps 100 miles outside of D.C. It feels like it's forever to get out there to land over to their stadium right now. And so, again, long story short, congratulations, I think, to Hendon Hooker going to the New York Jets. Hey, you know what? It's a professional football team. It's kind of he could have one of those moments. You know the classic movie Major League. Tell me.
I have seen Major League 2.
Yeah, you've seen 2 but not 1?
Yeah. Don't ask why. I've never seen one. I've only ever seen 2.
This is not The Godfather where 2 is better. The original is the standard. And no offense to Knoxville's own and Tennessee graduate, Tennessee booster, David Keith, who played Jack Parkman in Major League 2. It's a VFL there. But seriously, there's a scene in Major League 1, Major League Original, Major League Uno, where the catcher, the old vet, Jake Taylor, he's out there at a party at his ex's place, and he walks in. He's trying to surprise her, woo her, but she is obviously not a traditional, what you think of as a traditional baseball player spouse. You know, she's into the book world, library stuff, literary world. They're at a party, and a bunch of her friends who are not baseball people, are there at the party, and the guy she's dating at the time. So they're all kind of awkwardly sitting there over drinks and dinner. And an elderly woman says, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" He says, "Oh, I play baseball, I played right here in Cleveland." She goes, "We still have a team?" And he looks at her and he goes, "Yeah, we have uniforms and everything. It's great." One of my favorite lines in movie history. One of the most underrated. Now, I'm not saying the movie should have won an Oscar. I'm not being crazy here. I'm just saying that's one of my favorite lines from any movie ever. Yeah, we have uniforms and everything. It's great. That's the New York Jets. Oh, you're still there? We have uniforms and everything. It's great. So congratulations to Hendon Hooker being back in the National Football League. Maybe at some point he will get a chance to go show what he can do, because what a fun player he is to watch. What a fun career he had at Tennessee. Shame the way it ended, but hey, you were on my Heisman ballot, Hendon Hooker. You were on my ballot. Not my fault you didn't get to go to New York, all right? Blame that on the others. Also, last thing before we get out of here, Craig Bell has been added to the Tennessee baseball staff. Excuse me, in a support role as development. This guy is it's a good hire to add to your staff there for Josh Elander. This is a guy who'd been at Florida for years, obviously with the new Tennessee associate head coach there, but with Drolman down there. He was a major league scout for years. He's really, really respected as a recruiter and developer and recognizer, identifier of talent, which Tennessee baseball's obviously been pretty good at that. So that's big. And anytime you can make another good hire, that just helps that transition from Vitello, which we all know is going to be a transition, but Tennessee's kept almost all the roster intact, kept almost all the recruiting guys intact, added some really, really nice pieces to the staff. It's definitely going to be different without Tony Vitello, without Frank Anderson. But Josh Elander, brilliant young coach, good recruiter, good offensive mind. He signed some really, really good pieces to the personnel staff, to his roster. Really hoping that we can get him on the program at some point to talk about all that, because I think he's made some hires that are really good ones, and this is another one of those things. Obviously, Tennessee basketball, we'll discuss a little bit more about that over the weekend coming up on Friday. We'll discuss that game coming up on Sunday. Not going to be a lot going on in that game, but we'll still discuss it. It was designed in case they had lost a few, and then you get right before Christmas. So they got right. Now they still get to play this game before Christmas. So we'll have more to talk about that tomorrow and other things. For now, enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Be good to each other. Happy holidays. Be nice to everyone around you. Remember, everybody's going through something, and we'll see you here in about 23 hours.